Ripped straight out the pristine mine den and placed supine on the feasting table arrives Terry Cavanagh's weird little games collection, or more affectionately and officially called Terry's Other Games. A collection of odd little virtual baubles spanning literal decades of creative interactive video media output. Irish video game developer Terry Cavanagh is best known for his games VVVVVV, Dicey Dungeons, and Super Hexagon. But a man who makes games this good doesn't just projectile mind dump multiple masterpieces without some additional attempts. Terry's Other Games catalogs these, well, other games that span the gaps in development between Terry's commercial heaters. In this video, I will deliberately luxuriate in everything odd and weird and wacky and wild that Terry's Other Games has to offer. I have split the games in this collection into separate categories which appeal to my spreadsheet-shaped mind palace. Those categories are the big winners, the silly winners, the other guys, and finally, the idiot winners. I will go into more detail about what these categories mean in each of their sacred segments. Also, we'll take a gander at Terry's most recently released freeware game, Egg, and then conclude with a small review of Super Hexagon, which may or may not be one of the best games ever made. I will not be going into detail on Terry's other two commercial releases, VVVVVV or Dicey Dungeons, because this video idea was supposed to be something short and easy, maybe 3,000 words, but brother, I'm approaching 8,000 and I'm losing my wits. My Dicey Dungeons review alone would be at minimum 3,000 words, so maybe I'll save that for another day. Alright, let's jump straight into this beast with the big winners inside Terry's Other Games. The Big Winners category is a place to celebrate the truly special games found on Terry's Other Games. Big winners are either games that are fully realized and well-executed mid-sized games, or small games with a straightforward hook that appeal to my particular brand of goober good times. Just as a reminder, there are other categories that have the word winner in them, such as the silly winners, or the idiot winners. So if you feel strongly about Terry's catalog, maybe your favorite is located in one of those video file folders. Also, after each mini review vignette, I will provide some context from Terry in the form of these blurbs that appear before launching these games. Anyway, I hear the bell, so let's rumble. Fountain is a small game that contains at least a singular big idea. I have rewritten this segment numerous times trying to get across my awe of this game, but each rewrite produces new syntax, technical, soul-shaped errors. So, in an effort to overwhelm my biological brain computer's quality sensors, I'll break this down simply, then gush emotional about the proceedings. The game's title, Fountain, is a reference to the Fountain of Youth, a mystical magical fountain which produces an age restoration tonic. This simple narrative hook has captured the hearts and minds of humans for thousands of years. Stories about the Fountain of Youth proliferate all forms of modern media, from movies to books to TV shows. So it only stands to reason that modernity's newest form of narrative-driven media, the video game, would also produce an equally compelling entry into the Fountain of Youth canon. In Fountain, players take control of a gender-irrelevant individual who has arrived at the Fountain of Youth just in time to restore their fading essence. Once youthfully reinvigorated by chronology's ichor, you are welcome to wander. The game does not provide any explicit directions, but instead insists your implicit curiosity serves as sufficient motivation to motor through the pixelated landscapes. Spread across this limited world are relics or treasures of vague importance. Maybe it's your mission to collect them all. On this reliquary restoration recon mission, your character's appearance will fade to gray and their locomotion will halt. The fountain's blessing is only temporary. You can return, but will you make it back in time? If you do, you'll quickly realize that this second dose of young blood is much less potent than the last. Your character's youth and will fade in measures exceeding reason. You must become bound to the fountain to sustain the facade. The relics of youth lost and forever out of reach. Or something like that. Anyways, I think I got 4 relics on my best run. Let me know if you can get more than that. This is what Terry has to say. This is a game I kept coming back to over and over and over again for years before finally figuring out what I wanted it to be, reduced down to one idea that I really cared about. I released this game shortly before I turned 30, which, I was maybe feeling a little stressed about. Who can say? This review/overview/overreview/roverview will be especially short and punchy compared to its peers because Naya's quest is straightforward goodness that doesn't require luxuriation or overly bombastic language and metaphors to get it across. Naya's Quest is a fully realized isometric puzzle game that takes full advantage of that isometric viewpoint to create mind-bending landscape navigation puzzles. Sorted active story elements are intercut with pocket dimension hyper-sterilized puzzle cube level goodness. These levels would be nothing but incomprehensible rage game bait if not for Naya's Quest ultimate gameplay wrinkle, the cross-cutter. I don't remember what it's called, I'd have to look. I just wrote in the script all caps, cross-cutter. This device enables players to determine platforms in relative vicinity even if they may look completely inaccessible to the naked eye. These mind trip levels scale elegantly in complexity and difficulty until reaching a logical crescendo fever pitch of rollicking design purity. However, I do have a criticism I believe pertinent. The live system in this game is unnecessary. Only having 3 attempts on harder rooms that may require a little bit more trial and error is brutal, especially having to replay the previous room to get another attempt at your actual challenge. If the live system was not present, I would have enjoyed this game just a little bit more, because, good lord, some of these puzzles are trippy, and believe me, I love that, but I hate being punished because of the game's core conceit. Here's what Terry has to say about the original builds of this game. I tried the idea out and I loved it immediately, but everyone else hated it. Turns out, this sort of optical illusion is really fun for the designer, but less fun for the players. I poked at it for years, but I think I eventually figured out a way to let the player in on the fun. Tiny Heist is one of 3 games featured in this collection, which is also available for free on coolmathgames.com. I very lightly covered this game in my previous video about Coolio Presents Math G, so this may be review for some of y'all sickos. Tiny Heist is a minimalist action survival roguelite stealth game which tasks players with plundering riches from a treasure tower while also dodging detection of security patrols. The game features a most cards face up on the table style of design, where the players can ascertain the level's overall elements and make plans prior to departure into the action. Graphics are spiritually ASCII if not outright. I always struggle to identify them in their purest Dwarf Fortress natures, as we'll see later on as well. Action is turn-based. If you don't move or actively make the decision to pass your turn, the opposition's patrols won't move either. Different sentinel types have different memorizable patterns, and a smattering of fun goofball items can create diverting expectations to stealth encounters. On death, you respawn at the tower's base, losing items in progress. The level progression is variable and subject to change, as are the patrols and the items. These roguelite elements make for an engaging romp through each subsequent attempt. My personal temperament and desire for rapid progress don't work too well with this game. Patience virtues scream with sincerity and focus. Please just take your time and think this through, it laments. No way, Jose, I reply coolly. Really fun all around, just really fun game. Here's what Terry has to say. At the heart of this game is a half-finished abandoned jam game that I'd worked on a year before. I took that game, shaved off the rough edges, and finished it up. The result is a game that's easily my favorite of my own freeware games, and which still feels a little magical to me. A game with the ghost of another game living inside it. Inside of this collection, Terry has 3 uniquely labeled categories. First, the A-sides. These are the most robust and fully realized games on the collection. Next, the B-sides, which are much smaller in scale. And then inside the B-sides category, there's a section labeled Terry's Trainwrecks. This on-the-nose labeling style makes these games out to be lesser than their fellow B-side compatriots. 2 of these supposed train wrecks get my big winners seal of approval, the first of which is Bullet Time. Bullet Time is a top-down 2D auto-scrolling bullet hell spaceship game. The gimmick here is that you can slow down time, or enter bullet time rather, almost at will. Your bullet time meter is only usable at 100% charge, and the longer the power is utilized, the longer it takes to recharge. Runs are intended to be short, and I am bad at this game. I gave a legitimate effort to try to get more than 30 seconds survived on 2 distinct play sessions, but never quite succeeded. This game has a fun little gimmick built on top of a proven formula, with just a splash of the charm and style found in Terry's other games. Not this collection specifically, but just in general, all of Terry's other games. Terry has this to say: "It's a little shoot 'em up from 2009 that I'm still fond of." Me too, Terry. Me too. Terry, if you're watching, I'm directly just talking to you for a moment. Why is this game in the Trainwreck section of your video game collection? This is legitimately the second best game on this collection and a sterling example of everything great about your games. It is not a train wreck, even if that title may be a little tongue-in-cheek. This game is hot. Now, to address my normal audience, Maverick Bird, in the simplest possible terms, is a combination of the DNA that is present in both Flappy Bird and Super Hexagon. And believe me, we're going to talk about Super Hexagon some more later. I am a firm believer that Flappy Bird is the game of the year for 2013. GTA and The Last of Us are pretenders in the face of true perfection. And without giving away too much of my Super Hexagon segment, I have some feelings about Super Hexagon of equal histrionic, hyperbolic sincerity. I'm gonna just say that Maverick Bird is sharp and boastful, game actions are snappy and punchy, and every little mistake can be traced back to the flaws of my own fingertips. The music is stellar and creates a hype atmosphere. This one is great. Please play this game if you like Flappy Bird or Super Hexagon. It's rad, and you aren't gonna regret it. Terry had this to say: "Made as an act of support with the creator of Flappy Bird, who faced a bunch of abuse online when his game went viral." Deceptive and odd and inventive are all words I would use in a quote for this game's non-existent Steam page. Four-letter word, or blank, or, as I initially read it, fine, is a hard one to properly pin down. Visually, four-letter word has a haunted aura and a mysterious vibe. It looks like a game ripped out the maw of a cobweb-hidden Atari MacGuffin box. A game not meant for your eyes for fear of a timely metaphor-soaked creepypasta-styled B-board haunting. I adore this art style. It has a sort of uncanny appeal to it. It's incredibly intentional, but it has this air of unfinished rough edges. The gameplay of four-letter word is highly variable. What you see on boot is not necessarily reflective of all this game has to offer. This variability in gameplay modalities creates a fun little meta dynamic where I found myself trying to guess what sort of twists and turns the gameplay loop could take. I unfortunately did not get to experience those perceived twists because I got stranded on an early level due to a profound lack of skill and ability on my part. If somebody wants to record the full game and send me the footage, I will be indebted fully and truly to you for at least a few minutes. I'm really interested in how things play out and wish I didn't suck major ass because in my short and skill-limited play session, I had at least 2 unique mind-blowing moments. Most games can't even manage one from me, so big shouts outs all arounds. Here's what Terry has to say about it. I had some cool plans for this game, but I ran out of steam shortly after I sent it off for demo, and never really got the momentum back. It's been more than a decade now, so I think I can call it abandoned. Don't Look Back is available to play for free on coolmathgames.com. I'm mentioning this very clearly and concisely up front because I believe that this short game has 2 brilliant moments that are best experienced for yourself. So, go now and play this game. It's at most half an hour. Afterwards, feel free to return, or to write about the game on your blog. Ultimately, it's your choice. Welcome back to those who left, and salutations to those who remained. Don't Look Back is a retro-inspired 2D action platformer game with very, very minor puzzle-solving elements. The game is loosely based on the Greek legend of Orpheus and Eurydice, but when I played this game I had absolutely no clue that that was the intention. Instead, I substituted the action on screen with a different set of metaphors which more closely aligned to my own personal experiences. Knowing the inspiration differs from the interpretation does not denigrate the intentions or lessen the impact. Don't Look Back's story is conveyed with no words exchanged. All character drama occurs in lockstep with the gameplay and leaves ample room for interpretations. Knowing the core conceits only amplifies those interpretations. In less clinical terms, Don't Look Back's story is simply told, integrates beautifully with the gameplay, and left me fully satisfied at the end of the game's brief runtime. Gameplay consists of side-scrolling 2D platform action elements. Challenges come in the form of either platforming gauntlets or gun battle monster encounters. Combat is simple. Your character possesses a firearm which is deployed with a simple button press and can be used to down a variety of enemies. Some screens present a multiple solutionality where the player can fully invest in platforming execution, combat excellence, or a clever combination of both. As the game progresses, the game's adamance on gunplay is exacerbated and combat becomes the core focus. There are 2 boss fights which require a little trial and error and introduce a fun bit of challenge. Now, I'm gonna spoil some big stuff. Up to this point, I've only given a very brief overview of the game's core elements but neglected the really cool stuff. So, final warning, if you want to see that really cool stuff blind, go and see, my child. Beginning the cool stuff section now. You're eventually going to drop directly into a massive boss arena. This feels big and important, and like the culmination of this short game's runtime, I genuinely believe this to be the final challenge on my initial playthrough due to the difficulty spike and scale of the enemy. However, after defeating the enemy, the game enters into its final act. Your character finds the spirit of their partner, who they were presumably mourning on the game's title screen. You are now tasked with shuttling them out of the depths of the caves, so you begin your journey back. Pretty straightforward. But then it happened, that magic little moment. If for even the briefest moment you look back at the spirit of the departed, they'll dematerialize and be lost. Don't look back. Get it? Terry, good shit. Way to go, you got me. I let out a legitimate histrionic gasp when this happened the first time. It's so clever and fun and provides a new twist on the platforming challenges that follow, while also adding a level of detail and nuance to the storytelling. You may notice that after the spirit is retrieved, you never have to fire your gun again. That probably means something, huh? All in all, it's perfect and executed with a great deal of tact and intelligent game design flair, but that's not the only jaw-on-the-floor moment present in Don't Look Back. Just wait until you experience the ending. You and your lost, now found spirit, your lover or otherwise, return to the mouth of the cave and traverse the game's first few screens, only reverse now. Finally, you arrive at the start of the game, the grave, to see your character standing there grieving, and then you and the spirit dissolve into nothing. Good shit, Terry. Very good shit. Here's what Terry has to say about Don't Look Back. This was my first ever Flash game. I made it shortly after turning 24. I was really excited about the storytelling through the game mechanics. For this segment, I intend on highlighting the games in this collection which aren't quite big winners. This is either due to the scale of the project or the game's intentions. For example, most of the games on this particular list are just vehicles to tell jokes. To be fair, there's some pretty funny jokes, for sure, but they're still just little jokes, therefore they're a bit silly. Get it? A silly winner. Alright, let's get going with these. Another game I've covered very slightly in the past, Grab Them by the Eyes, or as real sickos call it, GTBTE, is available for free on everybody's favorite, coolmathgames.com. GTBTE is a strategy drafting game that requires players to attract more customers to their burger stand than their competitor's Filthy Burger. You do this by designing elaborate signs with punchy messaging. I really like the idea of a strategy drafting game in this style. It's simple and straight to the point, but the AI is dookie buns and I absolutely took all their lunch money. Literally, because this is a game about food. Haha, I wrote haha in the script. Terry has this to say. I spent most of my time on this project just tinkering with the sign editor, to be honest. The actual game itself was a bit of an afterthought, just a way to let other people play about with making signs of their own. This is me now. We're going from Terry to me. Since the sign editor was priority number 1 and the game itself priority number 2, I don't really mind the Dookie Brain CPU. Also, I took Terry's advice and whole hogged this sign editor. I think it's pretty swag, and I got to export it to my device as a PDF. Sorry, my brain broke. Not PDF, a GIF. GIF, not PDF. I've lost my mind. I got to export it to my device as a GIF. So now, I can subconsciously direct all of your asses wherever I want. This game is the funniest game I have ever played. I was just mashing buttons to get it started and didn't even read the fun little blurb telling me not to let go of any buttons. So, of course, my plane went down over the probable Atlantifician Ocean. I exited the game to reset and retry, and to my absolute delight, the plane remained crashed. I then started another game, exited it, thinking that would reset Airplane Adventures, but still, no dice, plane in the ocean. So then, I closed the collection entirely, rebooted from there, and still, my plane sat at the depths of the Atlantifician Ocean. I guess you're right, Terry. I can't uncrash this plane. But luckily, you released a sequel to this game, so this little error could hopefully be fully resolved. Let's play a board game or a proper cup of tea. Both of these games are spiritually similar. They're tongue-in-cheek, decision-oriented visual novel type games. They're both enormously silly and joyful and great little plays. I thoroughly enjoyed clicking through all of the different options to see just exactly how each joke would land. I'm particularly fond of the way a proper cup of tea will let you just make a big glass of milk. That's stupid and perfect. This is peak game design, and I'm not joking. I know I can get a little sardonic and irony poisoned, but I love these games sincerely. For what they are as good as they can be, and that's a great thing. Terry has this to say about both. A little game I made in Downpour, a fun tool for making collage games on your phone, and there's only one correct way to make a proper cup of tea. Epilepsy warning, be warned, I'm about to show some crazy stuff on screen. We're going to start with what Terry had to say this time. Quote, "I think I was just trying to make something a bit horrible with this one." I could leave it at that. This one is pretty terrible, but the aggressive, give you a seizure if you're not careful art style actually really appeals to me. So there's some points there. I played this one a few times before I even understood what was going on. This is a top-down hectic shooter. The black squares show where the enemies are going to spawn, and you defeat them by pointing your death end at their face ends. Pretty simple and almost entirely unintelligible. Hilarious. Airplane Adventures 2. Finally, the sequel to TC's acclaimed, highly revered Airplane Adventures, a game that earlier I failed miserably at. This time, however, I am primed and raring to unleash my ancestral beast, and I'm certain that acclaimed indie game designer Terry can fix the problems and bugs the last game had. Let's go. Yeah, it is just the same joke again. It's beautiful. Life's great. Video games are God, and we, the little children of the rainbow. And now, a brief itch.io break, or as my coworker is adamant, it's called Itch.io. If you have an opinion about how this is pronounced, let me know. I'll let you know if you're correct. Egg. Plumbed from the depths of God's ideals for human perfection, Egg shatters freeware style full force into the collective consciousness of all true sickos hippocampi. I hate this game. Well, that's a little strong, I'm so sorry. Usually my words are more argle-bargle, namby-pamby, bush-beaten, ancient mariner prose, so let me, as the coolest kid said back in the 90s, check myself before I wreck myself. Egg is a freeware game released on itch.io that is playable either via download or simply in your browser of choice. Egg just so happens to also be Terry's most recently released game, hence why I want to provide coverage for y'all fine folks. Egg is a puzzling platformer, but not a puzzle platformer. That requires players to explore PS1 aesthetic landscape and meticulous aim and measure out profoundly beautiful egg tosses. To perform egg-related hot jump action inputs, players must hold down the jump button. The longer the hold, the further the jump. But hold too long, and you'll burst, baby girl. Why did I write that? You'll burst, baby girl. That's disgusting. Egg's functional yet borderline crufty jump controls turn mundane level traversal segments alchemy-like into profound bouts of rage game bait fury. The only thing saving this game from the depths of rage game damnation eternity is a fair amount of checkpoints. But otherwise, the game's core mechanics have the makings of rage game gold. Egg doesn't match the vibe of most of Terry's other releases, which in a way is the absolute most fitting thing, and simultaneously a peculiar little digital pockmark on an otherwise Buscemi face-like unique beauty of the proceedings. This game has big twitch factor, and I wrote that in all caps. Twitch factor. From our titular literal egg character, the PS1 nostalgia canon graphics, and the Bennett Foddy light-esque design sensibilities, as far as I can tell, the Twitch TV crowd did not latch on to their new favorite game, which is a real shame because I think that gaggle of ne'er-do-wells would frolic in the egg-shaped gardens of Terry's heart. I want to make clear that I still appreciate this game, but it didn't appeal to me in the same way that some of the other games Terry has released has. Ultimately, from what I can gather, this game was made as an excursion in learning new skills, and I am jubilant that such learning exercises are provided for free as fun little games. I just find this one a little bit frustrating, all things considered. As I have said numerous times throughout the short lifetime of this channel, quote, "Just because I don't like something personally doesn't mean it lacks in value or merit. Some things just aren't for everybody. Different strokes for different folks and all that." End quote. I was quoting myself, quote me all the time. Basically, what I'm trying to say is if you have an active Twitch TV audience, show them egg and make some punchy thumbnails for the VODs. You're welcome. I do consult. Final note, I don't personally think this game is worth finishing. The reward to frustration curve is all out of whack. However, the ending of this game is wild, so maybe fight through to see it. Now, I am fully done giving you conflicting information about myself and egg. This segment is dedicated to the other ones. It's now occurring to me that in my nearly 8,000 word script I never committed to writing any bits about the other ones, more specifically an intro for the other ones. Effectively, what this segment is going to be is going over all of the games that I have not covered yet. Just because a game is located in the other ones doesn't mean it's bad. It means it's just awfully small or odd or maybe a little bit, I don't know, not for me. Anyway, I hope that by going over these games you can identify if any of them are interesting to you. Different strokes for different folks and all that goodness. Anyway, I'm going to get to reading my overly long script. Enjoy. As always, spoiler warning. This one requires a spoiler warning if that tells you anything. So, spoiler warning. This game is basically just a little story, so if you watch this, then it will completely invalidate any hopes of you getting anything out of this game for yourself if you purchase and play this collection. Skip ahead to the next segment to avoid the ruinous, calamitous fallout of my word cascade. Starting now. So, audience, if you didn't skip ahead, you have a signed verbal and mental contract with me that you can't be mad when I unload my spoiler cannon. Hero's Quest is a subversion of a typical JRPG story. Boy leaves home with the aspirations of adventuring. That adventure typically results in Boy becoming entangled in the lives of the aristocracy, ancient mysteries, demonic beings, and all other manner of boogans and hijinks. In Hero's Quest, our character sets off to adventure in the forest. I will now recount this journey in sparse prose. On his way out the door, he tells both his mother and father he is leaving on his quest. Both parents react in good faith and realistically. Our sweet boy is just imagining a hero's life in the forest, they think. Harmless little fun dotting the outskirts of our rather domestic life. Just make sure you're back for dinner, his dad says. A sweet song resounds. Off into the forest the boy ventures. Beasts of the land encroach. Rock guitars blare. A possum, a rabbit, a stray cat. All fall in equal measure. The boy levels up. He arrives at his secret place with only a scratch. An adventure well taken. He deposits the carcasses of the wildlife and returns home unbothered by nature's approach. The boy walks through the door and greets his loving parents. Dinner is ready. He washes the blood off his hands. He seems happy enough. End of prose. So I saw what was coming during the second combat encounter when I noticed there was no run option. Terry, I'm sure you got some people good, but not me. I had a suspicion I was about to get rug pulled, and oh lord, the rug pulled so thoroughly. This game reminds me of another deceptive and subversive Flash game that I vaguely recall. I cannot find it for the life of me, so if you, dear learned Flash game pilled viewers, know the exact title, please let me know. In the game I'm thinking of, you raise little chickens, or a singular chicken. You're raising a chicken or chickens. They're cute and harmless, and it's very straightforward. But at the end of the game, there's a big, gut-punch, disgusting twist. And that's that these sweet baby chickens get turned into delicious little chicken nuggets. Terry, you sweet baby chickened my ass. How cruel. Terry has this to say about Hero's Quest. An epic RPG made for Glorious Trainwreck's 50th Click of the Month event. And that's click K-L-I-K if that's relevant. This is a totally fun and fine platformer, as is the name. There's no major gimmicks, no brilliant little aha moments, as are aplenty in these other games. What the title says is exactly what I got, and I ain't complaining about a straightforward naming convention. And that is a dig. I'm looking at you, four-letter word, you little SEO nightmare demon. Mr. Platformer takes place on a grid where you make decisions on which levels you would like to play. The micro goal is getting to that big bell in the corner. The macro goal is to complete all the different lovingly designed boards. There are 4 styles of level: Labyrinth, denoted by a ladder and maroon background; Water, depicted by the pixelated waves; Platforming challenges are on the orange and yellow lava squares; and the forests are Pitfall inspired, where you can either stay on the ground level or pursue the Spelunker hell depths. Terry has this to say about Mr. Platformer. This one started as a weekend jam game, like a lot of my games do. Unfortunately, during the jam, I got the redacted sickness for the first time. It was a couple months before I was back to myself, so this little game became my recovery project. Bullfist is some sort of historical political allegory that I'm far too USA branded myopic to fully grasp. The only Bulls I know about three-peated twice on God, and then Derrick Rose actually died on the basketball court and was never on the Knicks. If you remember him on the Knicks, then you're misremembering. To digress, and to simplify the history/politics stuff to the best of my understanding for the rest of y'all goons, ape together, strong. Bullfist is an almost endless runner that's core gameplay involves gathering bulls to destroy larger and larger targets. More bulls equals more destruction, ergo, ape together strong. The big time dopamine flood I got the first time I successfully recruited my full bulls roster was crazy. That moment alone makes this game worth playing. Terry had this to say: jam game I made with the other people at my table at Big Jam in 2009. Copycat is a little turn-based action game. Players spawn as one of 3 character types and must take down ASCII-type enemies. I'm not sure if this qualifies as ASCII on a technicality, but it certainly has that sort of spiritual vibe, if you're picking up what I'm throwing down with my bad self. I am ass garbage at this game and can't ever wrap my head around the tank controls. I see the vision. I could see myself getting good at this game and entering into a patented TC flow state, but I have a full-time job and like 20 other games to play just for this one video, so this small taste will have to suffice for both me and you. Terry says this: looks like a roguelike, but isn't really. Radio Silence is a moody, immersive, slightly off-kilter, and unsettling first-person 3D platformer. The goal of this game is to make the music stop. The moment that you spawn in this game, you're blasted shotgun style directly to the ears with a discordant, distorted, and disheartening little ditty. It's gross and affecting. While writing this segment, I have been listening to this horror song on repeat. I am a changed man in the oral radius of this ringing shanty. The person you knew is gone. The music brings to mind an empty carnival at the dead of night. It's foggy, and there's a single lamppost casting a dull amber over a wet asphalt. There's a figure sitting on the bench, legs spread, one arm perched in their lap, the other death gripping the upper edge of the bench. You can't make out their face, but they emanate an ominous energy. You know better than to approach, but curiosity sowed its seeds in your heart far too young. This decision to approach was made the day you were born. In Radio Silence, the world is black and white in shades of gray. The title floats above it all in big block letters. There is no text crawl, no introduction. Do what you want. It'll all make sense soon enough. Terry had this to say: I made a couple of little things in Unity while trying to learn how to use the tool. This one probably holds up the best. Idiot winners. You may be asking yourself, and fairly enough, what exactly is an idiot winner? Is this a Taylor Hicks situation? That's a joke about 2006 American Idol winner Taylor Hicks. You're welcome. He's an idiot winner. And yes, kind of, it is a Taylor Hicks situation. What I mean by idiot winner is that I am an idiot and I could not comprehend at any level what the hell these games expected me to do. I could not identify a goal or methodology or anything remotely related to coherent, sensible progress. Since I was unable, due to my poo brain situation, to understand what was happening, it doesn't seem fair or reasonable for me to pass any judgment on the proceedings. I will call these games out quickly just so they are firmly established on the record. The record, by the way, is what I call my memory. Terry, if you're watching this, can you send me a game fax or an email so I can play these for real? Thanks, big dog, you're a real one. This game consists of one screen. There are 4 diamonds situated near the corner and a giant plus sign located center mass. You control a pulsating cube around this one screen. Your cube loops around the edges of the screen by adhering to the ancient laws of Pac-Man, and that's it. You can maneuver slowly across the screen, inching into the vicinity of the level elements, but nothing happens. I am uncertain if this is some sort of puzzle or maybe a meta commentary on the way people desire solutions, not only in their video games, but even in their sordid, crufty bumblefuck lives. If it's the former, you got me. If it's the latter, you got me. I eventually just lost my patience and held down and right and watched my cube fly. I consider this zooming action to be the spiritual equivalent of a silver medal. Here's what Terry has to say about this game. My take on a Towler, a kind of abstract puzzle game from the early Ludum Dare days. This quote makes me more confident that this is in fact an abstract puzzle, but I wouldn't put it past anybody to try and trick my ass with word-riddle bullshit in my own home. Update. After the fact update. I figured it out. What the fuck, Terry? I'm gonna spoil stuff now. If you care about this, I'm about to spoil stuff, so skip this. So, when I was rewatching my footage, I noticed that there are clear moments when there are multiple squares on the screen. I just had this eureka moment. I was like, what the hell? What if those additional squares landed on these diamonds in the corner? And then bingo bango. That's a game completed. Very clever. I'm elated that this was not a meta commentary of some sort because my poo brain situation makes me completely unable to discern truth from fiction and context from subtext, and, most importantly, north from south. The Hunt is a ridiculous top-down action game where the player takes control of Malcolm Rhodes, get it, who has been framed and sentenced to death. In response, Mr. Rhodes does the only thing he can do, jack the judge's car and head for the border. The cops respond quickly and set out to bring Malcolm back to their idea of justice. Either this game is stupid hard, or I am. Pause. Players must avoid obstacles in the form of police, casual motorists, and level barricades in the form of city scrapers and forest scenery. I have no clue how long this game is or what sort of twists may lie in store for the presumably young Malcolm, though technically, since we're not given all that much information, Malcolm could very well be an octogenarian or some form of Bigfoot. I die quick, I die silly, I die preoccupied with other thoughts. Anyway, the coolest thing about this game is for sure the respawn system. Giving the player full authority and placing themselves on the game board after an accident creates a fun little level of strategy that simple respawn in place lacks. Terry has this to say. This is a game I made in QBasic when I was a teenager. My favorite thing about this game now is how instantly hard it is. Terry in his 20s would have called it bad game design, probably, but Terry in his 40s loves it. I think for sure it's funny, but whether or not funny is good game design depends on the game and the person playing it, and I have decided to plead the fifth on the matter. I played at a distance utilizing the one input control method since my girlfriend was out of town seeing a concert with her family during my recording sessions. Even if she was here, I don't know if our illustrious brain trust would have had the requisite mental RAM to puzzle out what the hell is happening in this one. We would have gotten closer to figuring it out since she does not suffer from the same poo brain deficiency that I do. But still, this one feels distant and arcane and unintelligible to the idiot layman. I have no input positive or negative for this one because I am genuinely so baffled. Terry, if you're watching this, please give me some direction here. I broke my no Googling stuff rule for this one and still could not find any pertinent information to get myself over the proverbial starting line. I feel like that game journalist who idiot-assed his way to infamy by preternaturally sucking at Cuphead. This is my preternatural idiot-ass moment. I will not allow forgiveness until I remedy this problem. Terry had this to say about this game. It's sort of possible to play it single player, but I wouldn't recommend it. In hindsight, maybe I was feeling a little bit of pressure to follow up my first big game, VVVVVV, with something similarly fun and light, and rebelled against that. Up until about a week ago, I had played the vast majority of Terry Cavanagh's available works, both free and commercial. However, I had one major blind spot: Super Hexagon. Super Hexagon is a game that I have only heard spoken of in irreverent tones, a game that is universally loved for its sterling game design and striking aesthetic. I felt that the overall topic of this video, the little games of Terry Cavanagh, created an excellent opportunity to finally dive into Terry's first commercially released game and try to digest the hype one spoonful at a time. I'll stop bearing the lead any further. Super Hexagon is one of the best games I've ever played. Striking and straightforward, perfectly balanced, and gushing fun out of every pore. Super Hexagon's simplicity does not equal a lack of depth or complexity though. What is on the tin may seem rather one note. The execution is delightfully grandiose under the hood. Terry shows a fundamental understanding of what makes games fun and addictive and memorable. From the gameplay on screen, you have likely observantly gathered the core premise, but if you, like me, are so zoinkies zonked transmaxed, it may require some explanation. You see, folks, that little fella on the edge of the hexagon, well, that's our little fella, and we must protect him from the colors and the lights that encroach upon his sacred shape home. Movement controls are always relative to our character, not the screen, which can be a little disorienting at first, but let's be completely fair here. Everything is disorienting at first. The middle hexagon is spinning, the outer edges are spinning, directions can change at any moment, the level is pulsing, and new dodge patterns are constantly coming towards you. It's an enormous amount of information to parse off the rip, but Super Hexagon knows better than anybody and makes that expert decision to forego a true tutorial in favor of learning on the spot. To be completely frank, for the first 15 minutes of playing this game, I was not making any progress. I felt pretty defeated, like this was outside of my skill set and there was no hope for making any headway. However, there was a singular moment when I was playing where I fell face first into a divine ordained flow state. This may sound crazy. I explained this to a coworker and they looked at me like I was crazy, but at some point the level stopped spinning. Not literally, of course. The pulsing and whirling and twirling were all still occurring, but my brain so thoroughly was able to shut out the noise of the level and focus on the important aspects: the character, the hexagon, and the patterns. It was kind of like the hexagon was laid perfectly flat and I was only seeing things on a simple left and right plane instead of the semicircular one. It was genuinely shocking and mind-blowing and affirming in a way that I have not game experienced in God knows how long. Super Hexagon made me think that I was a person capable of learning new things and putting information into immediate practice. If there was a way to teach someone calculus like this, we would move into an advanced age the likes of which none of us can currently fathom. Super Hexagon felt like a triumph for the human spirit, not of the human spirit, but for it. What a game, what a moment. Terry, you genius, you've outdone yourself. And feel free to use the quote, Super Hexagon is a triumph for the human spirit on any marketing materials. I doubt you need any quotes now, but I think that one's pretty hot, so do as you please. So, there you have it, a rather thorough perusal of Terry Cavanagh's smaller games. The collection, Terry's Other Games, retails on Steam for $9.99 USD, but during the recent autumn sale, it was only $4.99 USD. I think the standard going rate of $10 is a total steal and borders on unethical robbery. But if you're stretching your dollar to the max, like a lot of us red-blooded good folk, This is a joke. Well, maybe wait for the winter sale and see how things shake out. Like I mentioned throughout the video, some of these games are playable for free on websites like coolmathgames.com and itch.io. So feel free to go and give those a gander, and if you enjoy the free stuff, well, maybe consider purchasing the collection. Also, Super Hexagon, My Love, is on Steam for $3. It's incredible, and everybody should play it for at least 1 hour, so go buy that as well. Other than my shilling, I don't have much else to add. Terry Cavanagh developed some really great and interesting games. Between the free stuff, the collection, and his commercial output, there is certainly something for everybody to enjoy. Also, play Dicey Dungeons. It's one of my favorite games ever, but like I said earlier, my review would simply exceed this video's ideal scope. So it gets this concluding throwaway line: please play Dicey Dungeons. Stay tuned for a short afterword if you would like to learn more about some of my previous uploads or get insight into the future. Goodbye. Hello. Well, I guess this is more of a goodbye. Thank you for watching that video about Terry Cavanagh's games. We're currently watching the credits for Terry's other games. I really enjoy this credit sequence because it has all sorts of fun facts. Some I covered during the video, but others I didn't. So feel free to give those a perusal just as a fun little bonus. This is Twitter time. Last video we determined it was called Twitter time because being on Twitter gives you mental illness, and I refuse to do so. So there's no better time to give updates than right now. These updates will relate to future uploads primarily, so if you don't care about that, you're free to go. Feel free to watch some of my other videos. They're good. If you care about what I'm going to be doing in the future, then stick around for another minute or two, and I'm going to run through this. I have a notepad document. We're just going to go bullet by bullet on here. In the previous video, you might have remembered, if you're a true sicko, I mentioned that I would be making a video about the winter. That clearly did not pan out because you're watching this video right now. Originally, I intended on creating a video of essays related to the winter and then overlaying that with winter video game footage. I hated it. Boy, I hated it, and I scrapped it. If you have any interest in that specific sort of video where I simply read out my essays with a little bit of a background, let me know, because I can either email you these essays or I can just, get it done and finish the video. As it stands now, I have no intention of doing so unless other people tell me that I should. Secondly, I spent a lot of time on itch.io while making this video, mostly because Egg got me hooked. If you know of any great creators who utilize itch.io, please let me know. I'm very interested in playing any demos or free games that are on there. If you know of anything that's paid that's on itch.io but not on Steam, i.e. some real weird stuff, please let me know about that as well. If you have any favorite itch.io creators, games, or anything like that, leave a comment because I may be utilizing that in the future. Preferably browser games, and there's a reason for that. If they aren't browser games and require a download, I don't really care that much. I have two ideas. You won't ever be able to guess what they are. There may be a bit of a break between uploads. That's primarily due to the holidays. I'm going to be incredibly busy, not only with the regular holiday stuff, but I'm also moving. So they've lined up perfectly for me. So there may be a break. I would love to get a video out for the winter, but there is no guarantee that that will get done. We'll see how things shake out, but don't expect a December video by any means. If it happens, it'll be quite a happy accident, but otherwise we'll be looking at January. In January, I would like to have completed the most video of all time. I have teased the most video of all time before because it is going to be the most video of all time. I have completed all capture for this game. It's north of 700 gigabytes. I need to break that sucker down and then alchemy-like turn that into video game review goodness. Ideally that'd be done by the end of January, but the more I work on this and the more I think about it, the larger the project becomes, and it gets a little bit of feature bloat, so it actually will likely be coming out in February, and I don't want to push it further than that. But be on the lookout for the most video of all time. It's going to be a really big review of one game. We've been doing a lot of these collections, I would like to do one that's more focused, and it's on the way. 700 gigabytes, dog. And that's about it. As for other videos you can watch, just head over to the channel. I strongly recommend you watch my Weird Games video. I think it's the most spiritually similar to this one. And maybe check out the Cool Math Games video because it's another similarly structured video. If you want something a little different, that Star Fox video is pretty hot. And if you want something that's intentionally, a bit stupid, you can watch the Racing Games video. Okay, anyway, that's all the stuff that I had to tell you. If you have any good itch.io developers, let me know. If you have any interest in the video about the winter, specifically the essays, let me know. And then I will see you back here in either a month for a December video or in January once things have settled down. Okie dokie, bye-bye, have a great evening. Peace. Why would I say peace? Bye-bye.